Good morning, friends. It is Seed Starting Saturday, and it is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler. And so glad to be here with you guys today. It is a beautiful day here in southeastern Virginia, and I hope it's as pretty where you are and you're getting what you need. I'm just sending up my order now. We need a little rain here, but we're doing our best to muddle through. So I have a lot to talk to you about today. I mean, like, how about this? Today, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to jump right in. But today's show, we're going to be sowing sunflowers, as I had mentioned earlier on social media today. I mean, this is the last hard push for us here. We have a mid-November first expected frost. And so September is our last month of starting our sunflowers each week to get that very last push of sunflowers. I mean, what says fall more than sunflowers, right? I mean, and who doesn't want sunflowers for Thanksgiving? We don't always make it. Sometimes we'll get a hard snap frost that'll take the last planting or two potentially, but it is so worth the risk to push the envelope, because let me tell you, having sunflowers for Thanksgiving and those weeks leading up to Thanksgiving is a great time. And I mean, if you're a commercial flower farmer or you're selling flowers, this is like your profit time. This is the time of, creating a little extra cash flow to kind of ice your cake from this season. As we know, there are all of us that are growing cut flowers and those that are selling. We have an endless market once you find your niche, and it's not always the obvious niche, guys. And so these sunflowers will just come in and just take you over the top. So we're going to do our weekly sunflowers today, and I'm going to be doing 3 trays because I'm pushing that envelope, right? And then I'm going to be talking about making your own soil blocking mix soil. We're just going to take a look at that. I've already done it. You can look back at this is September 3rd of 2022. You can look back at the 7 days ago recording and actually see me actually doing it, what I'm going to tell you all about today. Talking about that, then guess what? I have a bunch of cool flower seedlings as well as some warm season seedlings that are actually samples for us to take a look at. And then we're going to wrap up this session with a Q&A at the end. So friends, post your questions related to seed starting and sunflowers and even just flower farming, right? Or gardening. And I will do my best. So I want to make 2 public service announcements. One is, I feel your pain about no cool flower books being available anywhere. The publisher, supply chain problems, y'all. I mean, this is the reality of it. He is not expecting the reprint. This is like the 4th reprint of Cool Flowers this year. And he is not expecting it until late October, I've been told. So I am really sorry about that, but I'm going to ask. I see that one of our team members, Jesse, is on here. We have a great clearinghouse of a lot of cool flower resources that can help you through if you don't have a book, right? And it is it's on thegardenersworkshop.com. Go to the resources and then go to my blog, go to the cool flower category, and it is the Cool Season Flower Chronicles. That is a series of 5 30-minute videos of me answering all the frequently asked questions. And so that's a great series, but we have been adding to that post for the last 2 years, adding lots of other resources there that can help you with cool flowers. So you're not alone if you're just learning about cool flowers and you can't get a book. We are here to help you through that. So check out that resource. And then also, big announcement, for those of you that do or don't know about that, we do a live shopping show every Friday where back behind me, all those flowers you see are the remnants of yesterday's show. On that show, I'm sharing the harvest and giving you the 411 and showing you the flowers in real time. And then you can buy the seeds and tools and supplies. Well, normally, The sale, we all have special offers during that show. I do things like sometimes it's free seed shipping for orders that are only for seeds, or I pay the shipping. It's not free, y'all. I pay it for you, but we offer that. And then we offer special bundles, which we did yesterday. And those specials normally end at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. But because of the time change, because we have so many people on the West Coast, we have decided to allow that sale, that special offer for that special event, to go until Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So what I'm saying to you is you can still go back into the phone app right now up until 8 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday and shop the specials. So check that out. And we're working on something else really special for you guys, but I'm not telling you, I can't tell you about it yet. My people get mad at me for committing to us things that we're not quite sure how it's going to work yet. So, all right, friends. So today, let's start out with sowing our sunflowers. So if you saw that image today of the sunflowers, that was the Pro Cut mix. It's got all of the different Pro Cut colors, and there's such a vast variety, right? And so I had said, and my plan was to start the Pro Cut mix each week. So I will keep sowing sunflowers till about the end of September. The last 2 weeks, we don't always make it, but when we do make it, it is so worth it. And all that's invested is a little bit of time and seed, right? So it's so worth it. So I came out here this morning to find my Pro Cut mix, and guess what I was out of? So friends, I made my own Pro Cut mix. I took all the bits and pieces of all the different Pro Cuts. These are all the solid color ones that I've used all throughout the season, and I've made my own mix here. So you know what? When you got lemons, make lemonade, right? So I am going to be doing that. So if you are new, I think we still have just tons of people that haven't ever heard about this concept or aren't familiar. I'm going to do my tape while we're doing this, while I'm telling you all this, about why do we do this? We do this because, what is today, the 3rd? We start sunflowers each and every week so we can harvest sunflowers each and every week. And why do we start them indoors? Commercial growers in general do this. It is certainly less labor. It is less costly. You don't have to waste as much seed, and you get a better stand of plants. But for me, it's about weed pressure. Think about this. Think about walking out and planting seeds today. You have to keep that seed bed watered every single day to get them to really germinate quickly and in a timely fashion. And then you also need to keep them weed free, because your weed seeds are starting to grow at the same time that your sunflower seeds are starting to grow, right? Are you getting the picture? Instead of walking out there with a 3-week-old transplant sunflower, which we plant ours between 2.5 to 3 weeks old, walking out to that prepared bed and planting your transplants, watering them in really, really well. And because here in southeastern Virginia, we get so much rain normally, we typically don't have to irrigate. But right now we are irrigating weekly because it's dry as a bone here. Those transplants will quickly outpace the weed seeds that are in the surface. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it is so much easier and better. I mean, commercial growers basically figure out, this is why I feel like flower farmers are some of the best teachers out there, because we go from the beginning of life with a seed to the very end of a plant's life, meaning you start it, you grow it up, you plant it, you tend it, you harvest it, and then you start all over again. We have to master a little bit of all those steps to do what we're doing. And that's what sets us apart. And that is, in fact, why I launched Flower Farming School, friends. Anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. But that is what really makes flower farmers different, because we as a profession are always looking for the quickest, the easiest, and the most efficient way to do everything. And we teach gardeners how to do that as well as flower farmers. All right, so let's get started here. So I've got all 3 of my trays. We'll start high and then just move them off, right? So We start them indoors. A lot of times people ask me why I don't start them in soil blocks. You can start, if you're a home gardener, definitely 2-inch soil blocker. That is the way to go, because you're not going to be starting the volumes that we are. But for flower farmers, we have to start. So we want to start so many. It's not reasonable to start them in soil blocks. You have to make them, and it takes a lot more blocking mix, and they do just fine in plug trays if you plant them in a timely fashion. So these are 128 plug trays. You can find these on our website if you need them. And in here is just a 50-50 mix of compost and potting soil, not blocking mix, not any special seed starting mix, just plain old potting soil that you can buy in a bag. We mix it 50-50, and then I fill these up, right? So I use masking tape with you can find the garden marker that I wrote with over on our website. It is made to resist UV rays and moisture. Let's see, where am I going to put this? I'm going to put these at the end. Because these trays are all going to be the same Pro-Cut mix, I just put one piece of tape at the end. And you might think you don't need to, I just dumped soil down my leg into my shoe. Love life as a flower farmer. So you might think that you don't need to mark them, but friends, once think about 3 weeks from now, if you just started today, all of a sudden you'll have 3 trays. And it's amazing how once they sprout and get growing, how much they all look the same, but they're different ages. So I find it really, really significant to be able to mark them. And I find that masking tape is the best. So I am just mixing up my seed and putting it in my hand. And I'm just going to drop. Already dropped one. I'm just going to tilt this down a little bit so y'all can see better what I'm doing. So I am literally just dropping one seed on the surface of each cell. And sunflowers in general germinate best when they are covered with soil and they have heat. And so you'll see the process here in just a minute, but after we get these seeds planted in these trays, I will take these trays into my grow room and water them using a watering can with a sprinkler head, and water really well. And what people say, what does that mean? Well, I find that people move too fast and they only go over once. I go slow with my watering can. And then after I've watered all the trays, I go back and I do it again. I call it double dipping. I do the very same thing with all of my containers. The first time you fill the container up with water, a lot of that just runs straight through. It's the second dip that really helps your plants. So I'm going to take these into the grow room. I'm going to water them really well. And then I'm going to pop these trays up onto the seedling heat mats. I cannot tell you what a great difference it makes to pop these on heat. They germinate almost in 24 hours. All of them germinate. They pop and get started all at the same time. So I can move them along in this process, right? If you just leave them sitting on the floor or in some place that you think is warm enough, then maybe one or two will pop today, and then a few more tomorrow, and a few more will. The bottom line is, if you don't get those sunflowers into great, strong light, they're going to start stretching and getting leggy. And that's what happens really quickly. I have to tell y'all about this. That's what happens to really quick germinating, quick growing plants like sunflowers. And the other one that does this is amaranth. I often get emails from people and pictures being posted of how leggy and all tangly amaranth gets. You want to know why that is? Because amaranth germinates literally, I get it to germinate in almost 10 hours. I'm not kidding you, on a heat mat. And it germinates so quick, nobody expects it, and you don't get it to light quick enough. And in fact, I just did an experiment I'm doing for a photo shoot for Wednesday. Bobo restarted one of the amaranths, and I checked it in the evening of the day that she started, and guess what? It was already cracking. So I quickly moved it to light on the same day it was sown. It was sown in the morning. That evening, I was moving it to light. And it's the best amaranth transplants I have ever grown. Because when plant transplants, just like sunflowers, get all leggy and tangly, they are a nightmare to attempt to plant, and you lose half of them. So that was like the score of the week. And so, all right, there's tray one. See how quick this is? So I'm going to take them in and feel the need to keep mixing these up since I did it myself. They didn't come out of the pack like that. So I'm going to take them in, put them on heat. Today is Saturday, probably tomorrow morning when I come out, because generally I am only in my grow room one time a day. When you're a busy business person like I am, with a functioning farm as well as other business obligations, I'm not a hoverer, which I know a lot of new seed starters are, which really can create a lot of anxiety. There's got to be a name for that syndrome, right? Tomorrow morning or Monday morning, I will move them off of the seedling heat mat under grow lights. What I've learned here, because I have a lot of varmint pressure, although I'm beginning to think that my little rabbit that was hitting my sunflower transplants when they're sitting out on the porch is, hasta la vista. For the last 3 days, I have had no sunflower transplant damage. And guess what I found playing in my backyard at 5 a.m. as I was walking Tucker? 2 fox puppies. And those are the guys you want in your yard, taking care of business like that. And anyway, so my fingers are crossed that they had a great meal and it's eliminated my transplant problem. Anyway, but because of that pressure, I have been growing my sunflower transplants a little longer indoors under grow lights because I had the space. But guess what, friends? Now that we are knee deep in cool flower seed starting time, and I will tell you, I'm officially out of grow light area. I had to actually bump the rudbeckias out of the grow room this morning onto the carport, along with the status, because we have so many cool flowers started. Oh my gosh, y'all, we have so many Snapdragons and Sweet William started. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, once again, I have overindulged. I totally understand the pain, friends. But we need them for a project we're working on. And so fear not, something will happen with all of them. All right, so I'm pushing them down. I'm just putting my finger on the seed and pushing it about halfway down into the plug tray. Now, if I look down into the cell right now, you could probably still see half of these. And you do not need to add any soil. When you take these in and do your watering, that washes the soil that's off of the sides of the cell and completes covering the seed. So don't waste a lot of time, friends. You, again, got to learn how to be quick and efficient to make all this stuff possible. This step is one of 200 steps that a flower farmer does each week, right? So you just have to really figure out what is the bare minimum that you need to do to have success. I guess that is actually the bottom line of what flower farmers actually do to be successful. All right, I'm down to the last one, y'all. Isn't this going quick? All right, so continuing on here. So the rest of the process. So because I am now at a grow room, I'm going to have to put these out on the porch into full blasting sun and give them varmint protection so that nobody eats their tops off. And I tell you, another big problem of varmint is birds. Wrens and cardinals really are very fond of seedlings. So sometimes you have to block those babies with row cover or bulb crates upside down, whatever, your pleasure is. So they will go out into full blasting sun. And then when they're 2.5 to 3 weeks old, or when you pull on the stem and the entire cell easily comes up. And friends, if you're having trouble getting a strong root system on your sunflowers, it's the lack of heat. That's another part that putting them onto the seedling heat mat really plays. It just pops the seed and gets those roots booming from the very beginning. And that is just the beginning of a happy life for these guys and a healthy, easy to manage and plant transplant. Y'all, it is so much more than any one step. And once you realize that, whether you're a flower farmer or a home gardener, there is no one magic bullet, folks. It is a combination, and figuring out what you have to do to get the end result that is doable for you makes all the difference in the world. You know, it's so funny. I know that I think these black and white striped ones seeds are actually my favorite, the Gold Light, which I just think is the most universal sunflower ever. That's the one with the chartreuse green center. I'm trying to pick up more of them. All right, that's all we have. So now I'm pushing these down. And did y'all know that we now have the sunflower cover crop variety where you can grow sunflowers, not for cutting, but for pollinators and building your soil available. And that's one of the things you can find over on the app. If you don't have our phone app, you just go to I got screwed up here. Go over to your phone's app store and search Gardener's Workshop Live Shop. It'll come up. Download the app. You can pop in there. You can watch the replays. But you can pop in there, and this is totally not connected to our website, friends. All of these specials that I mentioned from time to time are not available over on our website. These are two totally separate platforms. This is like a special event I do each week. Anyway, the sunflower cover crop is over there, and it doesn't qualify for the free seed shipping. The free seed only shipping is for seed packets. It's a 5-pound package. Anyway, we grew it this year, and I cannot tell you the birds and the bees and the hummingbirds and the hummingbird moths. It's too late to plant that this year, but to get it, to sit on it for next year, we are going to be planting a lot of it next year for the habitat. I mean, it is just amazing. It gets, let me show you. I used these yesterday on the show. This is one of the reasons really cool to attend our show. And they're rubber banded together. This is one stem of the cover crop sunflowers. Now, these are full of pollen, so you would never want to use these for cut flowers. But anyway, you can find that over on the app. So I'm just saying, friends, you might want to go over and snag some of that. But I am really, really loving it. And you broadcast it, we have I use a bag spreader, which you can find that on our website. And it's super easy to grow. All right, what's next? Everything, let's see. Let's talk about making soil. So as we announced last week, we are no longer able to sell the ready-made blocking mix. Boo hiss. Nobody is more disappointed, friends, than me, because we used to sell literally tons of soil. I'm not kidding you. But we have supply problems. And so we easily, we're going back to where we started from. We're making our own in-house blocking mix for use for our soil blocks. And I'm sharing with you how you can also do it. And so basically you just have to have peat moss or cocoa fiber, whichever is your pleasure, compost finished. We buy it in the bag, plus green sand and rock phosphate. The recipe is always on our website. It's on the instructions we provide with the soil blockers. And it's super easy to do, particularly, let me just turn this over here. Y'all are getting to see a little bit of the behind the scenes this morning. So look at this. So last week, I actually did this. We now have available the sieve that actually fits right on the top of any 5-gallon bucket, right? And you just put your peat moss and compost and just sit and sift it. And so I want to show you, I'm going to bring these over there. Told you I was going to fill my buckets up, and I pretty much did that. You cannot even believe how much, see how nice that is? You don't want any chunks. You can't have chunks. You cannot believe the volumes of chunks to fill this 5-gallon bucket with peat moss I got out of that. And then this, so we do purchase bags of finished compost. It can be horse manure, cow manure, chicken manure, any kind of organic compost, with the exception, we don't use or recommend the sewer sludge based product, which is very popular here in the Mid-Atlantic. We don't use that. So this was a bag, I think this was cow manure. And y'all, I mean, after you sift it, it is like, we've gotten emails from people saying this is like their therapy, doing what I'm doing right now. Running your hands through this sifted stuff is like, it gets your endorphin, it gets your juices flowing, I'm telling you. So the recipe is super simple, but you know what makes it simpler is sifting. If you're a home gardener, having a 5-gallon bucket, sift a bunch of compost and a bunch of peat moss or cocoa fiber all at one job, and it'll last you for a really long time. And then you just take your measuring cup and measure it out. And if you have trouble finding the nutrient, we do have it over on our website. This is nothing but 50/50 green sand and rock phosphate, which so many people can't find anymore. This is 2 pounds, and you can find that, and it has the recipe right on there. Friends, I'm telling you, I had to make some this week, and when you have it already sifted, I mean, it's like you're just going to make a quick pound cake. I mean, I make pound cakes every Friday. And once you do it and you know the simple recipe's only got 5 ingredients, right? I mean, if you have all the ingredients and you know what you're doing, it doesn't take you any time to actually do it. So you can make it simple. Having sifted product really changes everything. So if anybody is having a struggle or a problem with soil making your own mix, just give a shout out and we'll be happy to actually do it. And the thing I want to point out why we buy bags of compost is because that is a finished product. That means that whatever the ingredients were started with are completely cooked and composted to be able to be put in that bag. And that is just really very it's harder than what people think. You don't just pile a bunch of stuff up and come back and it's finished. Composting, I can remember saying back in the days when I used to travel and lecture so much, and particularly when I would speak at Master Gardener conferences. Master gardeners are so hard on themselves. They expect themselves to know, they hold themselves to a higher level of accountability, right? And when I would talk about how much compost we use in our gardens, and then of course for making soil blocking mix, people are like, oh my gosh, I can never make that much. Well, guess what, friends? I don't make that much either. Flower farmers can't make it all. The vast quantity of compost a gardener or a farmer truly needs to keep their garden soil fed and to feed your seed starting habit, you've got to purchase it. We buy it by the dump truck load, literally. Home gardeners buy it by the bag, get a yard dumped on your driveway, and that's the way it is to truly produce high quality, good compost. It has to be turned and worked to get it in a reasonable amount of time. So don't feel like you have to make it. You can make it, but you have to actually make it. It doesn't just naturally happen unless the pile is big enough and it sits for a long, long time, like a really long time, over a year if you're not working it to get the end result. So that's the story about that. Now, you want to talk a little cool flowers? So I've already said, but for all the people just joining us, we do know that the Cool Flower book is unbelievably not available. We've been out of stock now for a couple of weeks, and I know even the big booksellers are. The publisher is waiting, but we probably will not have more Cool Flower books until the end of October. I am so sad to say. Again, nobody is affected more than me by all of this, right? So, but we have a lot of free resources to help you. And I think that Jesse has probably put the link in here. You can find it over on our website. It's just got a bunch of different resources that are to support Cool Flower's book, but it will help you if you can't get a book, right? So we are knee deep in Cool Flower seed starting. We always start our transplants, the very slowest growers, which are Rudbeckias for us. They aren't so slow to germinate as they are to grow after they've germinated. They just aren't very happy, I don't think. And so where am I? Here we are. So we've gotten all the Rudbeckia started, and excuse me, y'all. We've gotten all of our Rudbeckia started. We have all of our status started. We have, oh my gosh, y'all, I have such a Snapdragon problem. I have started so many dadgum Snapdragons. And I do want to say this. I forgot to say this about the sunflowers. Sorry, y'all. Those are pro cuts that I started, and it's 60 days from seed to bloom, and it's a little longer in the fall. So you need to stop starting those sunflowers. I stopped 45 days before my first expected frost, crossing my fingers that it'll be prolonged as the weather has been doing lately. So that's why I grow pro cuts. They're quick from seed to bloom. So that's how you figure out when you actually stop doing this each week. Sorry, something just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I did not finish putting my name tags on mine. Sorry, y'all. If I don't strike when the iron is hot, it doesn't happen. That's what happens to me. Sorry, so you'll just have to hang on a minute. I'm putting the tape on my trays. This morning when I came out here to water, because there are so many cool flowers, there is so much work to be done. I was out here for an hour and a half watering, shifting, and moving, stuff from heat to light, stuff from light outside because we don't have room. What can I squeeze here, there? I literally ran inside at 8 minutes to 11, totally still like not dressed. I was dressed, but not, hadn't brushed my teeth, brushed my hair, and like cleaned my glasses. Anyway, I'm just a little catching up with that right now. So the cool flowers, we are knee deep, and I love this time of the year. I mean, a lot of us are guilty of trying to start cool flowers too early. And I'm borderline on that, but I know how to manipulate seedlings and slow them down by cool temperatures, holding back food and just giving them barely enough water. So yes, I guess you could say I'm a professional plant torturer. But it is so nice to have this job to do this during the heat of summer and get inside, right? So we have started our Rudbeckias, our status, 2 tons of Snapdragons. I have always had a Snapdragon obsession, and this year is no different. We have so many Snapdragons, so I've got some of them here, and we've now just started, and they're just coming off the heat, the Sweet Williams, all of the heirloom carnations, the annual baby's breath. This is totally different than the baby's breath most people are familiar with. If you want to know what cool flowers that I'm starting or the cool flowers that I grow, if you go to our website, go to the store, go to seeds, and go to the cool season seeds, I grow everything that's in there. That's my list. That is my list. So first, let's look at some Snapdragons. Look, y'all. Holy guacamole. I have 8 other trays like this, plus 5 trays that are 100 each, because I, got to grow all the different mixes. So do you notice how a few of these are kind of bent? Do you see that? See this one right here that's stretching? So this is what happens when you start your seeds and you leave them on the heat too long. The ones that germinate first are stretching for light while you're trying to heat the rest of them up. And I left them too long. That's why I say over and over, if you see 50% or so of seeds showing life, meaning cracking, you see the little neck starting to come up, move them to light. These are straightening up and fixing themselves, and they'll be fine. But that is what happens. So this is actually Rocket Mix. And they are just, Rocket Mix is the go-to. This is an old heirloom. This is the most commercially grown, the old standard. And this is the first one, this is the first seed I ever started in soil blocks was Rocket Mix, and was total success out of the gate. All right, y'all. Now let's look at a little Sweet William. And so y'all, Look at these little fellas. This is Sweet William. Who is this? This is Amazon Cherry. And you know what else I didn't tell y'all about the show on Friday is we do a giveaway each week. We're not talking about a pack of seeds, y'all. Yesterday, I gave away a flower caddy, which was a $55, no longer available for sale item. 2 weeks ago, we gave away a Hori Hori garden tool, which is like a garden knife to live for. But it's only, you have to enter during the live show and we award it during the live show. So that is another reason to join us at 12 noon on Eastern time on Fridays for that show, because we have awesome blooming giveaways. And what made me think of that was yesterday, one of the bundles, we added some free seeds to some of the bundles that are in there available. And Amazon Cherry was one of those seeds. So it kind of spurred me. But anyway, this is Sweet William. I probably have 16 different, I got more than that, 18 different trays of Sweet William, all the colors of Sweet, all the colors of Amazon, plus Electron, which has been going now for a while, plus a new one, which you guys won't be available till next year. And these guys were sown August 25th. So what's that? 9 days old. And they've been off the heat for a couple of days. So this is 60 plants on this little tray. These will grow in this tray till they go out to the garden. They don't get bumped up. And if you need to learn more about, if you're interested in learning more about soil blocking, we have a great resource on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. Go to resources. There's a video guide. There's actually a category that says all things seed starting, all things soil blocking. And there you can learn a lot more. But super space savvy. I have no Hooper greenhouses. I never have. I can't. I'm in the middle of the city. So friends, I've just learned how to grow literally hundreds of thousands of seedlings a year when we were in high production through the entire year, meaning we are constantly starting seeds. It's that whole succession thing. And I also wanted to add that if you've been trying to find a cool flower book, we have those resources that I just told you about that Jesse has, I'm sure, posted somewhere in here. You can find it over at thegardenersworkshop.com under resources, under the blog, under the cool flowers is the Cool Season Flower Chronicles. But in addition to that, my book, Vegetables Love Flowers, which is about the big picture of growing a flower garden, and that flower garden benefits your veggies by bringing in lots of good creatures, right? There's a whole chapter on the Cool Season Hardy Annual family of flowers that my 10 go to. So it's like the Cliff Notes. And so you can check that out as well. So this is Sweet William. Sweet William and Snapdragons are huge cash crops for people selling to florists, which was my primary business for all those years. You can never, to grow different varieties, to get early and later and more and better quality is what my life was all about for all of those years. So now these are not cool flowers. I want to show you, and I think I showed you these last week, but these are for a photo shoot Wednesday. This is Mexican sunflowers. And this is the perfect example of the size of almost everything I plant. Zinnias, Celosias, Snapdragons, Sweet Williams, all of them. You can see with the size of them, they're about 5 inches. These are the perfect size. And look how amazing they look to be growing. There's a little bit of yellow leaf of that not the first true leaves. This is 60 plants that have been on this tray. When were these started? August 11th. Somebody do the math. They're like 3 weeks old. 3 weeks. 23 days old, y'all. Here they are, ready to go to the garden. And I find that this is the picture that most people need. This is the perfect size to plant out in the garden. Super sturdy. Look at them. I wish you could feel them. Their stems are stiff and sturdy. This is from amazing soil strong heat at the beginning of life to get the root system, then under grow lights right on top of them, and then they were bumped out on the porch probably today's Saturday, probably a week ago. So 2 weeks indoors, 1 week outdoors, and this is where they are. And this would suit the bill for the basil. I mean, all the branching annuals that I plant. And then look at this, friends. I'm going to plant it as soon as I get off of here. Again, it's really too late for this year, but I have this is hyacinth bean in the 2-inch block. And anybody that questions if the plants can really be happy and healthy, these guys are like tying up a knot up here together. I have a beautiful container with this Jack, and this is hyacinth bean. It gets a gorgeous sweet pea-like flower, then these purple beans on it. And we have this growing on the front of our suite building for pictures. And the container's a little sparse at the bottom. So I'm going to go out there and plug these in to kind of beef it up a little bit. But I just wanted to share, look, these were started also August 11th. And how happy and healthy these guys are. They're in the large block because this seed is too big for the small block. That's the only time we go with the large blocker. This block, so this tray has 4 blocks. It would easily hold 8, right? Or it holds 60 of the small blocks. See what I'm talking about? These blocks take 12 times the volume of soil as one little small block. So with you having to make your own blocking mix and, special treatment, why would you want to use more of it? And it's space savvy to use the smallest. And so anyway, I have a great online on-demand course. It's like $25, I think. Comes free with the kit. That's the special, y'all, over in the app. You ought to go over there and check it out. It comes with cool flowers. And the kit always includes seed starting made easy. It's me taking you from beginning to end. But I'm going out to plant these in the container when I get off of here, after I have lunch, of course. Around here, 12 o'clock, even the dog's stomach goes off. It just doesn't even matter. Oftentimes I'll be working on something on one part of the farm. Bobo is somewhere else. Suzanne might be somewhere else. We all just come in at 12. Our tummies go off. So I'm going to look back at your questions now. Hello, everybody. Let's see what Daniel has to say. Hi, Daniel. Did y'all catch Daniel? Daniel has been so gracious to do a takeover of my Ask a Flower Farmer on Instagram on Wednesdays, and just everybody loves him. I mean, Daniel's in South Carolina. He is an amazing flower farmer. It's petal pickers. He ships flowers all over the country, retail bouquets. Like if you want to send somebody locally grown flowers to get that same vibe of that, Daniel's where you want to go to order that and have it overnighted. That's what his big business is. But anyway, let's see. Dan, hey, Lisa, I grew a few too many sunflowers that are blooming this week. It's not a bad problem at all. Because you know what would Dave say, Daniel? Sell them. Figure out somewhere for them to go. But nothing makes me happier than having to compost a few flowers. That means you met the need and the demand. And you know what we did last week? And they actually posted and tagged us on Facebook. We took all of those show sunflowers, which was like 7 buckets packed. And Suzanne and I quickly made big bouquets, and we delivered it to our local police department for all of our officers to take home. And that went over really well for the community. It was really supportive of that. And so there you go, Daniel. And we knew that would be a great thing to do. And it didn't take Suzanne and I 30 minutes to throw those bouquets together. And we were already going out, and we just dropped them off. And I mean, who doesn't want to drop something off and get so much happy contact? I mean, it was just wonderful. All right, friends. Good morning, folks. Hello, everyone. All right. Oh, so Kathy's flower piece. I was waiting for the special yesterday to purchase a soil blocker. Life happened and I missed it. I guess if it happened after the live show. So Kathy, you can still go over there and get it. And yes, I did a special, 2 special bundles yesterday. And I can't remember if it was you that asked me for it. And somebody had asked me for one we had done previously, and it is still available over there inside the Gardener's Workshop live shop. You can go over there until 8 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday and snap that up. So there you go. So hello, Texas. All right, Linda. My mixed bouquets with sunflowers have been selling out so fast this summer. People love sunflowers. Planning out my last batch tomorrow. Thanks, Lisa. You are so welcome, Linda. And I think that as flower growers, people that are selling flowers, back before you came to me, we connected. We all thought, because this is what I thought, oh, sunflowers are so simple. They've been around so long. People don't really want them. Friends, that is not the case. People blooming love sunflowers. They make us smile on contact. And I think we just think, oh, they can get, with our commercial customers, you think, oh, they can get them somewhere else. There is no comparison to the quality and the variety of sunflowers that we can offer to them. And if you can add 2 or 3 or 5 sunflowers, small ones, I happen to have some samples here. I'll just bring this whole bucket over. Oh, I'm bringing a little love and a puff along the way. Are y'all growing? Love and a puff. Daniel, by the way, if you're still on here, this has been out of water. This stays super well hydrated. I had one at 14 days old that had been in water, and even the foliage stays hydrated. But even if that doesn't, this would be it is an awesome cut. We're doing such an amazing project for next spring with that. You just won't believe it, y'all. All right, so I have some sunflowers here. Let's just take a look. So let's see, what is your reaction? Think they're pretty? That's exactly how your customers feel, y'all. That one dead center is my very favorite. And I have some that we just cut yesterday morning in the proper stage. So yesterday morning, look how small these are too. That's another thing I love about fall. So these are this is the bicolor. This is the plum. And these are small. Frankly, friends, we didn't water and it's dry as a bone here. So I can't even believe I have flowers from this particular patch. But these were tight yesterday morning and they quickly open up. So, and here are those sunfill sunflowers. This is exactly how I use it. Imagine being able to add that to a bouquet. It looks like a succulent and it fills up space. We don't grow these for it's a funky looking sunflower that comes later. We grow it for what you're looking at right now. And notice that I leave on my other sunflowers. Typically I only leave one leaf. It just contributes to the life of the flower. When you leave extra foliage, it just sucks the life out of it. That does not seem to be the case with sunfill, but this foliage is a little different. It's a little more detailed, I guess you might say, but being able to add one of these, I'm not saying to fill a bouquet with them, friends. If you grow these each week, this is sunfill green. It does come in sunfill purple, and we actually have a mix, and it is actually the same timeline as Pro Cuts from seed to this. Is about 55 to 60 days. So you can start it each week along with your regular sunflowers. But to have this to add to your bouquets will make your bouquet makers very happy. And people will say, what is that? And the cool thing is as sunflowers do, it will continue to open. I don't think any of these are that far along. You can't see that. But folks, this is the perfect size. See how big that is? This is the perfect size. People think this is a Gerber daisy. Y'all, there is so much opportunity in sunflowers. And Linda, to answer to the rabbit hole I was going to is we underestimate the power of sunflowers. And I'm just so happy that it has worked out for you this year. And that is my experience too. Nobody has ever said, no, don't put another little beautiful sunflower in my bouquet. So having them is great. All right. Susan, if you are growing different seeds in the same tray on a heat mat and they do not germinate the same, when do you move them to the grow light? Well, Susan, that is a perfect example is why we recommend not doing that for that very reason. So what you can do if you're a home gardener and you want to do that, a pancake flipper. I have a stainless steel spatula that I keep in my grow room. I do not like to handle soil blocks, particularly in that immature, before they have roots all through them, because you just actually sliding the spatula underneath them does or can affect the integrity of the blocks. So that's why we recommend only starting one variety of a seed of a product of a seed on a tray at a time, so that doesn't happen to you. I learned that lesson years ago. And so either spatula them off to another tray to get them under grow lights, or don't do that. Virginia, I have 3 trays of sunflowers sitting outside. They're almost 2 weeks old. It will be interesting to see how many of them make it to flower. Zone 8B in the Pacific Northwest. Well, the big question is, when is your first frost? That is more important than your actual zone when we're talking about this type, what we're talking about this subject. So yeah, let us know how that works out. That sounds totally awesome. Creatively Candace, Lisa, your website is such a great resource. I've always recommended you to people when they have questions about cool flowers or pollen single summer stem. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And it helps us so much, y'all, when you share us with other people. Word of mouth is always the very best. Posting a review on our website of a product or a seed that you've used from us really, really helps. I mean, what do you look for when you go to a product anywhere on the web? The first thing you do is look at the reviews, right? So we appreciate that so much, particularly a review on our podcast. That helps. Petals Acres, what order do you plant the cool flower varieties and soil blocks? I have started Rebecca and Status. I'm not sure if there are any more specific varieties I should start before the others. So really, it's just I'm just thinking. Sweet William. So I started Rebecca and then Status like you have. And then we started into those families of flowers that aren't the quick growers. Those would be like Feverfew and Sweet Williams, because we start 2 tons of them. Our yarrow is started. We just started all the carnations which are just dianthus basically, right? So really it's just there's a few just slow growers that I purposely start first. The rest of them we just then start. And I'm really trying this year to get ours started early enough that we can pinch 50% of them. We'll see if it happens. And that they have time to recover before we actually plant them out, because I have big projects going on, as always, that I have to have a lot of good plants for photography. And so I've started mine a smidgen earlier. I just hope we have an early winter, not a late one. But time will tell. Hummingbirding your plant starts. I'm not sure what y'all are talking amongst yourself there, I think. Thank you for everything you do. I wouldn't have the knowledge to be starting cool flowers now if it wasn't for your generous knowledge. Thank you guys so much. And, something that I talked about, I recorded a podcast this morning. And one of the things that I spoke of, and y'all be hearing more about this, my flower farming school course only opens once a year for 5 days. It's the 1st of October through the 5th. And one of the tools that just came online in that course is we have this amazing tool called the Cool Flower Field Growers Report. And it is a tool that we as gardeners and growers, any of my students, anybody that's inside on the inside of flower farming school, the basics, can go in there and read other growers' experience about specific cool flowers, but you can also contribute. This is like a database that we're building, because there's nowhere to do that. I know that there are cool flowers in the Cool Flower book that are winter hardy beyond the zone that it says it's hardy to in cool flowers. Bells of Ireland is a good one. We know so many flower farmers that are now fall planting in winter zone 6. And in the book, it says zone 7, because that's all we knew. Well, now we're gathering more information. Anyway, this Cool Flower report, which is just getting started. So it's amazing. My students can go in and pick a flower and report their experience and where they are and what they did. And as soon as you hit submit, it shows up on the report for other farmers or other students to be able to read it. It's like, we are so excited about this. I mean, it's just going to be so blooming amazing for my students, which, my course is about annuals, right? Get the basics of a great flower farming foundation. And so if you're one of my students, not only do I want to hear from you in that report, that's a great resource for you. And so you get access to that when you become one of my students. Later, I have plenty of sunflowers with pollen. Thank you for that recipe. So yeah, the cover crop soil sunflowers are loaded. I mean, I just cannot even tell you, to stand out there at dusk, which is when the hummingbird moths come, and the hummingbirds are there all day, and the bees, that my neighbors' honeybees, all the native bees, there's enough for everybody. It is just so very, very fun and interesting. Karen, can you use rabbit manure? The key is, what's missing from what you ask is it has to be composted. Yes, you can use composted rabbit manure. That means that it's 100% cooked. That means all the weed seeds are out of it and all the nitrogen has been processed and it's not hot any longer. So yeah, that would be great. Can we have your pound cake recipe? Yes, get ready to write it because it's only 5 things. This is the pound cake. I married into a huge Mennonite family, and I am a Mennonite now, married in. And so Steve's mom made these pound cakes and shared them, and she still does. She makes banana nut breads now, though. Anyway, my husband loves pound cake, and he doesn't want it iced. He doesn't want anything in it. He just wants plain old pound cake with a scoop of ice cream on top of it. And it is 5 simple ingredients. It is 2 sticks of butter, not margarine, 2 cups of sugar, 5 eggs, 2 cups of flour, and she says a teaspoon of vanilla, but I put a tablespoon of vanilla in it, real vanilla. And I actually have a niece that makes vanilla in her apartment in New York City. She's in Edison's medical school up there, and brings it home on the train for the bus for Christmas presents for all of us. So 2 sticks of butter, 2 cups of sugar, cream them. Then you add in the 5 eggs. Of course, the butter and eggs I let sit out overnight. Then you add the 5 eggs. Then you add the 2 cups of flour. Get that all mixed really well, and then add in the vanilla. And then you cook it 325, I cook it in a tube pan at 325, and I cook it for about 55 minutes. We like our inside of ours almost gooey at the very top, right? And it is scrumptious. And I oftentimes double it and make 2 and bake them at the same time, side by side in my oven, in a 2 tube pans. And I bump it up to about 59 minutes, and they are delicious. So we share one and we eat one. So hopefully that helps you. And that recipe came from another lady in the church, from her grandmother. So this is like 6 generations ago that this all started. Can you still get an electronic copy of Cool Flowers? I got mine on Kindle. Great point, Kim. I do believe that the ebook and the Kindle is still available. I have never looked at it that way, but it is still there. Jennifer, is it too late to start inside? Is there enough weeks inside before going out? So if you're talking about sunflowers, it all depends on if you're growing pro cuts. They need 0 to at least 60 days to get to bloom. So you need to have at least, fingers crossed, 45 to 60 days before your first expected frost, hoping that your frost will be a little bit later, which is what's happened to us for the last 2 years. I have kicked myself for not having a couple more weeks of sunflowers out in the garden. So, by the way, oh, thank you. Not everybody does. I call these my daddy glasses. My dad was a nerd, and these were the kind of glasses that he always wore. So when I saw them, I had to have them. Correction to previous question. What order do you start the cool flower varieties and soul blocks? I've started rebate. What should be started next? So I think I already answered that. So Susan says, when do the Snapdragons come off of the grow lights? So basically, in my freight train of seed starting here. And I have to get off here, y'all. It's 12 o'clock. I have to, things get moved out of my grow room out onto my protected carport, which protects my soil blocks from the direct sun and rain. And it has a wooden fence around it for a little bit of wind block. It has open sides too. So my snaps typically go outside once those that I showed you this morning are so new that when I just walked them from the grow room to here, I could see them being wobbly. So you want to wait until, I think the ones that I moved outside that are for another project are probably 2.5 weeks old, and they're looking pretty good, so. Pamela, thank you so much for sharing so much information. Much appreciate. Hey, if you can't tell, it is totally my pleasure to do this. I really have a strong desire to share, and that's why we have built this whole freight train, another freight train in my life of the Gardener's Workshop, which started as a little flower farm. Then it became an online garden shop. And then we started doing, I traveled and lectured for 10, 12 years, doing up to 60 to 100 conferences a year. And then we decided I was going to stay home and do online stuff. And our online courses for flower farming business, for any flower base of locally grown flowers, is a brainchild of that also. And we love providing all this free content. But let me tell you guys, and I know that many of you know it, we have a staff of 14 people. And those 14 people, probably half of them are to support our free resources. What pays for that? All of our online courses and our online store. So we really appreciate when you all patronize. You become patrons of ours when the time comes that you need a course, you need help, or you need tool, seed, supplies, or my books. It supports all of us. So we really appreciate it. Jessica, hi, Flower Mom. Hi, Jessica. I have so many Jessicas in my life. Now that you're not in high production, will you let your reseeder, that is an actual word, stay and reseed or continue your methods from years past? If yes, can you name your reseeders? So what she's talking about is those cool flowers primarily. I have never seen a strong enough presence in warm season annuals that I've grown to even think about this. Those cool season hardy annuals that naturally reseed, I would never depend upon that as a commercial grower, but as a home gardener, it's really a great thing to do. But no, we are not there yet because I still grow a large commercial garden. We just don't sell the flowers. That commercial garden, the great explanation is those flowers help us market and sell everything else we do, is the bottom line, right? So I still don't rely on that. But if I were to do that, if I were to have what I call a self-appointed garden space, which as a home gardener would be a perfect thing, definitely the Rudbeckias. Although I will tell you that the specialty Rudbeckias, like the Saharas, the Denver Daisy, the Cherry Brandy, those don't reseed and come back as true like the yellow ones do. Bells of Ireland, Buplurum, Larkspur, Nigella, some poppies, all of those will reseed, but it is high maintenance. You have to crawl around and hand weed, and it's very difficult. But that would be what my choice would be, I guess. If I were to do that, I would do a very small spot, and it's tough. It's tough maintenance. Wendy, good to listen again. Hi, Wendy. Wendy's one of our students. I've missed you being too busy this year. After 4 years of using soil blocks, we're getting better, but I never experienced plants as large as yours. Can you elaborate on the type of cow manure you use and other ingredients? I have the mixture down pat, but maybe I'm not using a quality soil. Well, it's not cow manure. I said it's just any composted, any bagged compost. We buy it. We do not make it. And that's one of the reasons why. It's like I feel like that's not something that I can focus my attention enough on to make sure that I'm doing it right. But composted cow manure, composted chicken manure, cow posted. I've gotten cattle, horse, chicken manure. Then there's other types of compost that are based on leaf litter and green matter. So the key is that it needs to be compost, and the nutrients of green sand and rock phosphate, and then just follow the recipe, as well as I will add, and I have really got to get off here, y'all. I will add that I have heard from people that cocoa fiber in place of peat moss is not the same type of soil blocking mix. I have not done it myself. They say it dries out quicker and it just doesn't bind as well. So you'll have to use that on your own personal experience. And the other part of growing transplants is I think I've just tweaked my environment, my grow room. I mean, it's so much easier to maintain than a greenhouse. This room I'm sitting in is air conditioned. My grow room door is like right around the corner. I can close the door to make the room get warmer, or I can leave the door open to get cooler. And this time of the year for cool flowers, the door is always wide open. There's heat in that room from the grow lights and from the seedling heat mat going on. So it sounds to me like you might be your soil mix, or it's your environment, and overwatering improperly is another big place of that. So what is Daniel saying about, I have some love and a puff growing on a fence, but it reseeded for 5 years in the same spot. I love it. You know what, Daniel, I think the big challenge of love and a puff is it needs to be grown like hops, where it needs to be tended constantly. It needs to have a really tall opportunity to go straight up, and we need to pinch off branches to be able to cut it reasonably. So I don't see it as a real... It would be great for event people doing events or selling to event people and charging accordingly, because it would need, I actually tried to do that midsummer. I planted some on a trellis and I thought, all right, I'm going to grow it straight up. It has so many, it was tangly in no time. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to be sure that everybody, that you knew about that. All right. So I'm just going to answer this. Marie, we have an online store where we sell all the items that I actually mentioned, and it's thegardenersworkshop.com. There's a shop there. You can go and find all the seeds, tools, supplies, my books, well, Vegetables Love Flowers anyway, and tons of resources over there. And so, y'all, I can't stop answering questions. I'm reading ahead. Hi, Lisa. I'm trying to wrap my head around cool flowers. I understand. My first frost is November 1st in zone 7. So that means November 1st, 6 to 8 weeks back, is when you should be starting to have transplants to go into the ground. Should I have started my seeds in August to plant out 6 to 8 weeks prior to my first frost? Yes. Or is it okay to still go ahead and start them now? I was planning to transplant them October 15th. When you're talking about transplants, you have a lot more wiggle room. You can take a transplant out into cooler conditions later, planting is what I mean, and use hoops and row covers if you need to warm them up to get them to be established. Not so easy with direct planting. So yes, start your seeds, get busy, and you'll probably be better off than we are. I've been in the past years doing more later planting than earlier because of the weather behavior. And so you're probably absolutely just fine. You have more wiggle room with planting transplants than you do with direct seeds. And friends, I'm getting off here now. So thanks for joining me. Please remember that the special is still, the special deals are still available inside the Gardener's Workshop live shop until 8 a.m. on Sundays now, Eastern time. So you can head over there, pick up some sunflowers if you need them. I have a couple special bundles. I'm not mentioning what stuff is because people watch this later and that special is not available. So you'll have to head over there to find them. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Jessie, so much for being here to help support all of us. All right, friends, till we meet again. Ciao.